All right, let's continue on the healthcare theme here with Aaron Derfel, the wonderful health reporter, investigative reporter over at the Montreal Gazette. He's on the line. Hi, Aaron. How you doing?
Good morning, Elias.
And just so you know, we were just speaking with Dr. Paul Saba, family physician, right, about this tentative agreement that we're learning about this morning between the FMOQ and the doctors. Can I get your take on the top here, off the top here? Your
Sure.
reaction to a deal this morning?
Okay, so first of all, it's a tentative deal.
Yeah.
They're suspending the application of Loi 2 until February 28th, and the FMOQ is going to have to, the leadership has to get get the feedback of the members. I think the members are pretty angry, but that does not resolve the fact that there's another doctors' federation, which is the Federation of Medical Specialists. They don't have a deal, and they're not in talks with the government. So obviously the government is trying to reach some type of a breakthrough. If they can get the family doctors on side, then they can move on to the Federation of Specialists, medical specialists. So there's obviously some progress, but it's not. It's just a reprieve. There's nothing really fully settled at this stage.
But of course, it seems to me like push was coming to shove on the family doctor side of things because clinics were saying we're closing or they were threatening to close, and I don't think the government could have gone into the holidays with that sword hanging above their heads. So is it
Exactly?
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you raise a good point because, for example, Tiny Tots, which is a pediatric clinic, some are specialists. Okay, but some are not. They're family doctors, and they're saying that they're going to close. I don't know what the date was, but very soon. And other clinics were closing. So this is from a purely tactical point. I'm not taking sides here, but just noticing from a tactical point, it was like a pretty good bargaining chip on the part of the family doctors to say we're closing our clinics and depriving the public of medical service. So the government had no choice but to cave, and the polls were showing that the public was more on side with the doctors than they were with the Legault government. So, and the Legault government is dropping in the polls. The last thing that they need is, clinics closing and more patients complaining, and God knows what could have happened with a patient. Something could have happened, a death or something. So they realized that they had to do something. But again, there's no final deal, and they haven't settled with the specialists.
Yeah, and of course that's half of it, right?
Yes.
When we're talking about getting to real deals here between doctors and the Quebec government. Let me ask you this, because you recently did a piece about Santé Québec's role in all of this and how they've been, suspiciously silent on these threats of closed medical clinics and that kind of stuff. Are you surprised about the role Santé Québec has played in all of this?
Frankly, I'm just surprised about Santé Québec too, because upon Santé Québec, its mandate is to negotiate. So why isn't it negotiating? I mean, the whole idea behind one of the merits that Christian Dubé, the health minister, extolled was that there are like 34 unions. We're going to reduce the number of unions. It's going to make bargaining easier, and yet Santé Québec is not doing anything. But I know that they have been kind of behind the scenes negotiating, but they aren't really negotiating. And why aren't they negotiating? Let me make this clear. Christian Dubé has a tight grip on Santé Québec. He appointed his ex-girlfriend from many years ago, Christine Germain, as chairperson of the board of directors. And he appointed Julie Lucier, who was his chief of staff recently in September, to become vice president of communications at Santé Québec. When Santé Québec has done certain things, which is its right to do, its mandate, he has overruled Santé Québec. And Santé Québec is not negotiating. Meanwhile, it's increasing the number of hires, more than Geneviève Biron, the executive director, has announced. She was saying that they were going to reduce, but they're increasing. And then when it comes to negotiations, they're silent. It raises the obvious question, why are they even existing if they can't do their job and if Dubé has such a tight control over them and there's all this political interference?
But can I add to that? It certainly seems like Christian Dubé, he himself has been neutered over the last couple of months on this dossier. And lo and behold, over the weekend, it was François Legault that swooped in and had these meetings, and boom, now we have a deal less than a week later. I'm sure all of this comes into your mind.
Yes. So this is Christian Dubé has made it very clear a few times already. He's not going to run in the next election, provincially, which will be held in October of 2026. And what you have with the CAQ, between the latest crime bill, their constitution, what they've done with education, what they've done with health, this is major social reengineering. Okay. And they're an activist government, and Christian Dubé thought, he could bring his private sector expertise to reform the healthcare system, but it's been a top-down approach and very centralizing, which is not really how healthcare should be run, in my opinion. Alberta tried it and they reversed it, and so what I think here is that it's clear, right? That when the premier takes over the negotiations, it means that the doctors don't have faith in Dubé, and it means that Legault, for all intents and purposes, doesn't have faith in Dubé, and so he's decided to get involved. And it's not Christian Dubé's brightest moment. I have respect for him, but it's clear that on this dossier, he has failed miserably.
We're wrapping up here with Aaron Derfel from the Montreal Gazette. Aaron, what are the answers you need, right? You have an agreement in principle, tentative deal. I imagine tomorrow we'll get the actual details in this deal. What are you going to be looking for? What do you need to know as someone who's been covering this story for so long?
I mean, the two sticking points are the following. One, are they going to dock doctors' pay if they don't meet performance targets? And then two, the performance targets, which the doctors say are terribly unrealistic. They're not in control over everything. So basically, it's a complete rethinking of the law. It's not a minor thing. If it were a minor thing, they would have reached a deal by now. It's the very law that's objectionable to the doctors, that their pay is going to be reduced, and that they're setting performance targets for them on matters for which they don't have total control. If you're a cancer surgeon, you have to reduce your wait list, increase your volume, and we're already going flat out. The surgeon I interviewed he's working from 7:30 to 6,
mm-hmm.
So and you only have a certain number of cancer surgeons, but you have more and more cancer patients. The population is aging, and there are younger people who have more cancer. This is a worldwide trend. How do you fix that? And yet they're saying, okay, you've got to. It's almost as if, again, this is Dubé as a former pulp and paper executive. I want you to increase your targets, but this is not pulp and paper. It's human beings.
Yeah, increase the toilet paper output. That's that's easy to do. It's not when you're dealing with humans and doctors, right? Okay, listen, Aaron, we've got to leave it there. I always appreciate your insight, whether it's in the pages of the Montreal Gazette or your fantastic X, your Twitter, whatever it's called, where you cover this subject so well there as well. Thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.